Yo, what is going on, my squad? Yeah. Look, your boy was reading an article from the other day, right? And I also saw a TikTok video about this, but okay, so breaking fuck the news, right? This is some wild shit. And when I thought things couldn't get any more crazier, right? Hey, yo, before I start this video, have y'all seen that last video that I just posted? You know, yo, that whole situation with the singer David, that shit's wild work. You know why? Cause I used to listen to that song, Feel It. But you know what? I'm not feeling it anymore, let me tell you. So I was reading a little article, right? And then, did a little research on TikTok. So I guess, was it in January or was it in July? I don't remember. I'm going to post the article, a little picture right here. Boop. But so I guess there was a baby, right? Who was in an embryonic state that was frozen since 1990. Now, what's crazy about that, right? And by the way, the baby's from Ohio. What's crazy about that? And there's a bunch of theories. Just think about it. If this is able to happen, a lot of theories of, cryogenics or whatever the fuck it's called, and, freezing, Walt Disney, quotations, shit like that. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, that's not real, obviously, but you get the gist of the fucking situation. If they're able to do shit like that, imagine what they're able to do, is what I'm saying, right? It's like the Matrix, when they come out of a pod.
Found all the energy they would ever need.
That's where like the baby's being formed and, growing and shit like that. That is wild work. Let's break it down, right? We're going to be watching a little bit of the video that I saw in a quick second, but it's just think about it, right? It's like our devices, it's like our phones. What we have in our hands right now, what I'm using to record, which is, 4K 60p. Yeah, 60 frames per second, 6 FPS, or whatever the fuck it is. Anyways, I got some good ass settings on here, all right? Your boy's not tech savvy, so shit, don't mind that. Yeah, so it's just think about it. If we're using devices that are about 20 years, behind, just imagine what the more advanced people have. Or not like, advanced civilization and shit, but I mean like the government and shit, you know what I mean? But yo, all right, guys, yo, let's watch this real quick.
The world's oldest baby was just born in the United States. He was already 30 years old at the time of his birth. Yes, even though he was just born, he is already older than both you and me. But here's the thing. As early as the 1990s, a baby in Ohio was frozen at the embryonic stage. But just a few days ago, that embryo was born and is now a full-fledged baby.
Yeah. And you know what's creepy about that? All right, so as you guys know, well, if you don't know, when babies are born, right, a lot of them look like old ass people already. Like, yo, when babies are born, and I have two beautiful children, and I have one on the way, right? And yo, babies are ugly. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, so, you know, babies already look like old ass men or women or whatever, when they're newborn, right? Like newly born. This baby looks 30 and 1 all at once, for real.
He was already 30 years old at the time of his birth. Yes, even though he was just born, he is already older than both you and me.
Like, you see his hairline? That's crazy work. And then, it's just crazy because imagine you're telling your friends, like, yeah, this is my son, but your son's older than you. What the fuck? And okay, so one thing I didn't get about the video, right, when it was saying that this baby was unfrozen from the embryonic state and whatever the case is, and then it says just a few days ago, and then it already grew to be that size. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that was the case, or the few days that it grew, it was just like from the embryonic state to, in development to form the baby. So I don't know how all that shit works. I don't even know what to say about shit like this. I don't know who's behind this kind of shit, but okay, so they're out here basically bringing back animals that are extinct, right? And now they're making babies without a female, productive system or whatever. I don't even know what the fuck I'm looking at right here. Crazy ass word.
His adoptive parents are 34 and 35 years old, respectively, and technically, he is actually 30 years old because he was frozen in 1994. This means that his current adoptive parents were just a toddling toddler when he was still an embryo. Isn't that a strange feeling? If this baby had not been frozen but was born in 1994 instead, then he would very likely have attended the same school as his parents. The biological parents of the baby underwent in vitro treatment in the 1990s. They created 4 healthy embryos, but the mother only implanted one of them, and her child has now grown to be 30 years old. So this baby is actually the same age as her siblings, despite the 30-year age gap between them. This is not the first time that a baby has been born from embryos from decades ago.
Okay, so apparently your boy didn't watch the fucking rest of the video, right? Because they've had fucking experiments like this, and they've had frozen embryonic states for over decades ago. What the fuck? So they've been doing this type of shit. Now imagine the little network they could, and this is just for speculation and theory, right? But imagine the little network that they could have. Imagine how many frozen embryos they really, really do have. That would be crazy. Like, I mean, low-key, that would be kind of smart. Because say something did happen and the world took a fucking shit, right? And I mean, the world fucking Tony Hawked it on that shit and didn't wipe its ass. That's how bad the world would have took a shit. Hypothetically and theoretically, right? But it is smart if we do have frozen embryonic state babies because, we're able to keep them in a lab somewhere and say something does happen, we're able to, repopulate. So that is kind of smart. But then it has me thinking, right? Because you guys know all about like, well, you guys don't know about back in the day because what the fuck? But, obviously all of the stories about back in the day and the tech that they had, and this is just the speculation of the stories, right? So in theory, they had a lot more, technology and what have you, and this and that and the third, dot, dot, dot. Because before the primitive state, there was an advanced civilization, technically, or not technically, but, in theory, there was an advanced civilization or what have you. And, something drastic happens, and then we became back to the primitive state. And then here we are today again, trying to, ground our bearings. Yeah, ground their bearings real quick or grab their bearings or what the fuck have you. So, I mean, that would make sense and that would be kind of smart, but it just has me thinking like this been going on for decades ago, right? And there's millions and millions of people that are just in 1 year. So imagine decades of people they were able to freeze. That's a lot of people. I'm not saying the whole millions, but just think about it. You grab 10 to 50 people, right, and freeze them from millions of people every year from when they started doing it. Yo, they can repopularize this shit already, let me tell you. But yeah, I thought this was very interesting, right? And it just is crazy how science is able to do simple shit like that. And I wouldn't say it's simple, right? Because obviously that's something that's super, super complex, but it's just freezing an embryonic state baby and holding it for 30 years before, freaking having it starting to grow up. Now, okay, what's crazy about that, right? So when you freeze things, and it's crazy because I'm someone that just searches really, really weird facts, and I like just learning about weird things. But when you freeze human tissue, right, or freeze human organs or such something like that, it can basically stay intact for several, several years. But when you start to thaw it out, I forgot what it is, but it's at a rapid rate. They're basically growing at a rapid rate while the embryonic state is also growing to the next stage of the baby. I don't know if that even makes sense, but I'm thinking while it was thawing out to the next stage of being a baby, it also aged fucking like crazy. Yeah, I don't even know what I'm talking about. This is science and this is some crazy ass shit, but long story short, they froze a fucking baby for 30 years and now there's a 30-year-old baby, but he's only 1 year old. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's interesting, y'all, and that's science. But I don't even know. Yo, do your own research on this, and we'll see you on to the next one. Wacky stuff.